Hello, welcome back to the Object Relations series. Today I'm going to be speaking about that which we're all involved in now, the COVID-19 pandemic. But I'm going to be speaking about it in terms of how we can project our internal persecutory objects, those internal accusers, judges, and persecutors in our internal world, how we can project those onto external things, and at this moment onto the coronavirus itself. And in doing so, I hope to help you sort out what's internal and what's external, which is an essential part of object relations thinking. Because we know that we have an internal world and we carry what's in the past into the present through what's inside our internal world. And we are always projecting it out. We see the world through it, but we also have to get to know our unconscious and what's in our internal world, which is the point of psychoanalysis and psychoanalytic psychotherapy, so that we can know what is really going on outside that we have to deal with today in reality, as opposed to what we also embellish it with from our internal world. And when it becomes something like the coronavirus that we're all faced with now is a very, very real external threat, we have to deal with how we can embellish it to the point of terrifying us and making it a personal nightmare if we project out our internal worlds. So there are many ways that we can do this. If we get overly obsessed with what mask we're wearing, or what latex gloves, or what we're buying in the grocery store, or how much toilet paper we have, all these things at this time of the pandemic when we're staying inside, sheltering in place, all this can be escalated by our unconscious projections. Why should we have to obsess about these things? We need to take care of them, but why should we have to get stuck on obsessing or building it up into such a nightmare that we could go towards panic attacks, which some people do when there is an external crisis, especially one as big as there is today. When we're involved in a present external crisis, we tend to project the things that were crises in our internal world that live on with us. Things from our childhood that were traumatic, things that were overwhelming, things that threatened us for whatever reasons. And we create internal personas that become like a whole persecutory other inside of us, accusing or threatening to abuse, or judging in persecutory and hostile ways, or having contempt for us. These are things we can project out at any time. But when we have an external crisis, we're most prone to project out something terrifying from inside of us that lives on. And I'm going to give you an example from myself, from a dream that we can see verges on nightmare, and a dream that captures in symbolic form what it can be like when we have threats of annihilation, because people are thinking about death all the time with all these death statistics going on. What does that do to us? What does that make us feel that brings up actual abandonment terrors and annihilation terrors that we carry with us in our internal world? The dream that I have captures this because it has to do with the terror of annihilation through entrapment and sheltering in place, feeling more confined than usual, can bring up fears of engulfment and entrapment. In particular, one of my patients spoke about seeing herself as a prisoner. So now I'm going to be speaking about this dream which relates back to an actual event. When I was born, I was a 10-month baby, which means that I was threatened with death before I was born, because after 10 months, if I hadn't been birthed, if I hadn't come out of the womb, my mother's womb, I would have been a dead duck, a dead little fetus, a dead little baby. So because of modern medicine, my birth was induced and I came out a healthy baby and have been a pretty much healthy person all my life. But I could have been killed. I could have been killed by whatever it was about my mother holding me back for 10 months, her not being able to release me, or some combination of her and me that kept me in the womb so that it could become a trap in a prison. In my dream, I'm symbolized by clothing of mine, which is in a washing machine and that is fused with being a toilet. It's a combination of a toilet and a washing machine. And it's engulfing and flooding, potentially flooding and engulfing and drowning me. So these items of clothing that are there to be washed are also being flooded, and the place is like a overflowing toilet. The laundry machine becomes an overflowing toilet, and it captures perhaps what my unconscious actually remembers from the time when I was in my mother's womb and I was flooded, giving me a sense of being overwhelmed a lot, making me feel overwhelmed a lot in my mind, feeling overwhelmed. But now with the external epidemic and my being sheltered in place, I relive this in my dream. My unconscious brings it back that at 10 months old, I was flooded. I was potentially flooded if I hadn't been induced into birth. What a threat I must have felt as a fetus at 10 months before I was allowed to come out of the womb. So that remains in me, and it is there symbolically as parts of me being clothes of mine in the dream, being cleaned in a laundry machine, but also it was combined with an possibly overflowing toilet. So I was actually threatened with being cleansed and annihilated all at once. And what does that say about living now in the epidemic? Are we all not thinking about cleansing constantly to the point of being engulfed by our own thoughts of how much we have to cleanse everything? And to the point where we fear some kind of annihilation of our whole life. So in this dream, I was reliving the past and the present, but the present is so related. And this is how our unconscious operates. And this is how we carry, in object relations terms, our internal world and project it out. And we can get it symbolized through our dreams. And that's what we discuss in psychoanalytic psychotherapy and psychoanalysis. And we also can symbolize it through thoughts and feelings and daytime thoughts, as long as we give words to it. But the dream brings it into glaring, vivid terms that we can then bring out of our unconscious and into our own analyzing mind to understand how the past is in the present and how the current pandemic relives traumas in all of us and annihilation terrors become prominent. Thank you very much.